Hi guys, Samantha from Jessima Tutorials here, and today I'm going to be doing a Fix That Fail video. So what I have here is just a bag of fails. Let me just bring it up. There. So I've just got a random bag of fails in here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach in and I'm going to pull one out, and then that's what we are going to be doing for today's video. So let's see, I'm just going to pull one out at random. Okay, and that's the one that we ended up with. You can see here some of the other ones that we have in there, and we'll be doing those most likely in future videos. But this is the one that we're going to be working with. Okay, and so we're not going to be recreating it exactly. All we're going to be doing is taking this design concept and turning it into something that's a bit better, because this was something I made, I'd say about 7 years ago now, and so I'm going to be recreating it in a better way. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do the marble around the outside first. And so what I've got is some Cernit metallics here, and I've chosen them because they're the colours that I want, because I'm matching them to the Sculpey liquid clay, which is something else that we're going to be using. So when you're using the clay to create the marble, just try to match it with whatever liquid clays you're planning on using. And then I'm going to be adding some Primo white in there. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to chop these pieces up, and we're going to create ourselves a marble. So just chop them up. It doesn't have to be too fine, just enough that we can blend it. Okay, and that should do. And just mix that up a little bit so that the pieces are a little separate from each other and mixed through. Scoop it all together, squish it up into one solid piece, like so. And then you're just going to roll that out, like so. And you'll just roll it out and then twist. Roll out and twist. And just do that however much you need to. I think I am reaching the point where I'm happy with it, because I don't want to overdo it. And I am going to be squishing this back up on itself, so I don't want to do too much of a marble so that I end up losing the colours. You know, just squish it back up on itself like so. And then we'll roll that out and we'll be able to make a marble. Nice and easy. Okay, flatten out. And then just flatten that out. And I did use unconditioned clay for this, so that they were all so it won't get too soft when I work with it. But when if it's a little too unconditioned, you can see here that we've got some cracks, but that actually looks quite nice. I like it. If you don't like it, that can always be your back piece. As you can see here, this side we didn't really end up with cracks. Now I'm going to run this through the pasta machine on my thickest setting, just to equalize it out so that it's the right thickness. And there we go. Then just grab a piece of paper, 2 pieces actually, and we're just going to burnish this so that it's nice and clean and smooth, because you don't want any fingerprints, and that's just going to give it a nice matte finish. Then I'm going to bring over a tile that I can put into the oven. Okay, and I will put this down. The side that you want to be visible, have that facing up, and then burnish this down onto your tile. Make sure it's nice, it's stuck down well, and that way the clay won't stick in your cutters. And before we do that, if I look at this piece here, I have done some scratches, and all you do there is you'll go in with a sharp tool and just go across the surface like so. And you can do it across the whole piece, or you can do it in some areas. It's completely up to you. I'm probably going to do it across the whole piece, honestly. Okay, then just quickly burnish that so that you smooth out those pieces. And this is one of the reasons why I'm using metallic clay, because you'll find that that effect shows up the best in metallic clay. You can do it with opaque clay, works just fine, but metallic clay works the best. There we go. And that will have just created a nice kind of agate effect. Then grab your cutter of choice and just cut down wherever you choose. I think that's a nice spot. There we go, that will work. And I'm just using a square donut cutter. You can use 2 squares. I prefer to use a square donut cutter because then it makes sure that the middle square is exactly in the middle, but you can use just 2 square cutters and try to eyeball it. Okay. And this won't go to waste. You can use this for many other different things. I'm just not going to be using it for this project. That's going to be going into leftovers. Stay tuned for more leftover tutorials. I do those quite often, so if you don't want to miss out on those, consider subscribing, as I post videos every single week. Okay, I'll just get out this middle piece, and it's quite well stuck to the tile, as you can see, which is what stopped it from sticking in our cutter. Okay, and then I've just cleaned up the outside. And then you're just going to pop that into a preheated oven for like 15 minutes just to heat set it so you can pick it up without it distorting. Okay, and then while that's cooling, I'm going to work on our centre bit. Now with this one I used Pendant paint, but I don't want to use Pendant paint because it takes a long time to dry, and if you don't allow it to dry for the correct amount of time it turns yellow under resin, so I don't want to use that. Be using liquid clay instead. So I'm going to be using Sculpey liquid clay. You can use Kato as well, and please remember you can use any colours you want. I'm going to be using let's see, what colours have we got. I've got gold, I've got some rose gold, silver and white. The only colour that I don't have that we used in our marble is kind of a pearly black, and that's fine, don't need to use that. Okay, and I'm just going to do 2 layers of, I'm going to do 2 of each colour, like so. And then we're going to do a nice little liquid clay pour, which is quite a bit of fun. Here we go. Okay, bring over the tile again. Okay, and now with this we have a square shape, and we have a marble going across. And the one thing that I didn't like about this piece is that we've got a square shape and we've got marble with semi-straight lines, and then we've got rounded swirls in the middle, and I didn't like that about this pattern. So with the liquid clay, instead of going with rounded swirls, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to be going in a crisscross pattern, so that we kind of stick with the same motif that we've got for the border. So I'm just going to let that drip down. And I'm actually being a dum-dum. I'm supposed to put down translucent first. And the reason for that is so that it spreads correctly. So make sure to put your translucent down, don't forget, like me. There we go. And then we can go back to pouring. Just sitting off to the side here. And I did have to refill it because I made a mistake there. Yeah, just pop it onto the surface, get it to kind of start going. And then I'm just going to be pouring it in a nice crisscross pattern. Like so. And there we go. Then I'm just going to take this and I'm just going to stretch it out a little bit, just because I don't like how those ends have that loopy effect on them. So I'll just stretch them out so that we have like a nice continuation. And then you can do the streaks if you want to. I'm going to do one over here so that I can see how it looks. I think that looks quite interesting. So I won't do that for all of it. I'll just do it on some pieces. There we go. Then I'm going to grab a square cutter that's basically the same size as the inside of this. And I'm going to just drop it down inside there like so. And I'm going to use my blade to very gently move the excess liquid clay away. Like so. There we go. Doesn't need to be perfect. You just want to move pretty much all the excess liquid clay away. You can go clean that little bit up. But then I'm going to pop this down in the center there while that liquid clay is still wet, and it will form around the edges. Don't bake it just yet. Give it some time so that it can kind of spread out and stick to the sides of the piece. Okay, and I left it for about 2 minutes just to let it settle. Then I'm going to put that into the oven for a full hour at pretty much recommended temperature, and then once it's baked we'll be able to clean up the rest of this liquid clay and put a backing on. Okay, and here it is out of the oven once it's cooled. So there is definitely some bits and pieces along the edges that I want to trim off, and that's just from the liquid clay. So you are going to need to either sand it, or what's much easier is to just go with a blade and just trim off any little scraggy edges you may have. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add a liquid clay backing, just so that it matches with our piece. There we go. You can see that's very easy. There. Okay. Then I'm going to keep it on the same tile so that we can move it around. And I'm just going to flip it over. You can see there how it looks. And I mean, you don't even have to put a backing on if you don't want to, but I feel like the liquid clay is a little bit delicate on its own, and I would like to have just at least something along the lines of a backing. So I'm going to take our liquid clay colours that we used before, and I'm just going to randomly pop them on. Like so. And I'll spread them out once I've put them down on here, because I don't want to get too close to the edges. Okay, and the last colour is the white. There we go. Then I'm just going to grab my tool from before, and I'm going to move these to the edges. And now I'm not too worried about them having a specific pattern. It's just going to have a swirly pattern from me moving it around like so. If you wanted a more specific pattern, then you could put translucent clay down before putting the colours down, and that would make spreading it a lot easier. But it also mean that you have to put down a lot less colour, because then otherwise it would be too thick. But just spread it around like so. Okay, and there we go. Now this seems like an excellent chance to put our bail in, and I'm wanting to use a stick-on bail, and so I'm gonna see if I can put it down here, or if I need to bring this up a bit more. I do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this forward, and I've just popped a rag over here as a support, and then I'm going to pop that down, stick that into the liquid clay. There we go. Then I'm just going to grab some spare liquid clay I have off to the side here, and I'm going to put that over the surface, because metal does not stick to plastic, so you have to cover it up completely. And this is just some of the leftover liquid clay I've got from the pour that we did, and so I'm just going to be using that as spare. Okay. And this is why I quite like Sculpey liquid clay, because it's quite thick and won't run. Whereas if you're doing this with Kato liquid clay, I do fear they would end up running quite a bit. And I'm just going to incorporate that a bit into the pattern, so it's not just big one lump. And then I'll put this into the oven for a full hour at Primo's recommended temperature, and then we can resin it. Okay, and so I've just given it some time to dry, and here is how the back looks. So that looks quite nice. Excuse me, not time to dry, to cool off after it was baked. So now I'm just going to place it back down on the tile, but this time I'm going to have it front view facing up, and I've got to lean it a little way off the tile because the back's not completely flat. Okay, and then we're going to be putting some resin down in that middle, and I'm using UV resin. And I just want the resin in the middle. There we go. Just allow that to spread out a little bit. And then I'll bring over my piercing tool, and if it needs some help, I'll help it out. But that should do. Okay, I've got a nice little dome on there. It's not huge, but it's enough. I'm not going to push it any further because I will probably end up spilling over the edge, and that's not something that I want to do. One thing that I do want to do, however, is I want to see if I can get some little resin drops on the outside, which I think will look nice. So I'm going to put this down off to the side here. I'm just going to put a little bit on my piercing tool, and I'm going to drop it down like so. And I'm going to do small and big drops, and just be careful not to go too near the center, because you don't want to accidentally get UV resin on that. What I might actually do, considering that this is working and I do want to do this more, is I'll cure what I have here, and then I'll continue doing the resin drops after this has somewhat cured, so that if I make a mistake I can clean it off. But basically I'm going to cure the middle, do little resin drops around the edge after it's cured, cure it again, and then we can string it. I put the UV resin into the lamp for about 7 to 10 minutes. Okay, and here we go, now that it's out of the UV light. And so you can see how nicely those little drops are. I don't want to varnish the outside, mainly because I want to keep that matte finish that we've got going, because it contrasts the shine of the inside. And also that is quite a central part of the previous one. Just zoom out quickly. You can see here, that's our base that we were working with to try to improve. And this one also, I've only got the resin on the inside. However, I didn't get quite as nice a dome, and I didn't put the little drops around the outside to kind of tie it together. But yeah, that's basically it. I'm quite happy with how it turned out. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you'd like to support this channel so I can continue doing videos just like this one, please do consider becoming a member of the channel or even becoming a patron. There's links to both of those in the description below. I also sell my own tools, such as the donut cutter that I used today, and there is a link to my Etsy store in the description below, where I make a lot of my own tools and supplies. But yeah, let me know what you thought in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.